Okay, hopefully I'm back and hopefully the sound is working. I can't tell from this side whether it's working or not. I'm assuming that you can. Can you tell me if you can hear me okay? Okay, can you hear me okay? It's not giving me the sound even though it's supposed to be working now. Tonight we're talking about rediscovering lost values, so I will start from the beginning now. Uh, but it doesn't give me a sound. Okay. Okay, thank you. Tonight we're talking about rediscovering lost values. I'll start from the beginning. And this episode is described in Luke chapter 2, verses 41 to 52. Jesus, at the age of 12, accompanied Mary and Joseph and a large group of their relatives and friends to Jerusalem on many pilgrimage according to the custom, and that is Passover. On the day of their return, Jesus lingered, staying in the temple, but Mary and Joseph assumed that he was among their group when he was not. Mary and Joseph headed back toward home, and after a day of traveling, they realized that Jesus was missing. So they returned to Jerusalem. Finding Jesus 3 days later, he was in the temple in discussion with the elders or the doctors of the law, listening to them and asking them questions. When admonished by Mary, Jesus replied, "How is it that you sought me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" A theologian of many centuries ago, Friedrich Justin Knecht, comments on the loss of Jesus by his parents. Mary lost Jesus through no fault of her own, but with what sorrow she sought him, with what joy she found him. We lose Jesus through our own fault when we separate ourselves from him by mortal sin. This is the greatest of all misfortunes, for he who has lost Jesus has lost all. And we can never be happy without him. He to whom this misfortune has happened must seek Jesus with sorrow and tears of penance. And he will find him again in the temple, his church. And if he will reconcile himself to God by a good and contrite confession. And what I found during the week is I found what was called a lost sermon of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I read through the sermon and I was very enthralled by the sermon, and so as a result of that, he gave this on the 28th of February 1954 in Detroit, Michigan. And this was labeled as Dr. King's Lost Sermon. And so I have tried to put it together in the verbiage that we use today with the least amount of change in it, and I will tell you what changes I have made in it as we go through it. In this sermon, King declares the greatest problem facing modern man is that the means by which we live has outdated the spiritual ends for which we live. Citing the Bible story of how Joseph and Mary had to return to Jerusalem because they left Jesus behind after the Passover feast, King tells the congregation, if we are to go forward, if we are to make this world a better world in which to live, we have to go back. We need to rediscover those precious values that we left behind. King urges them to rediscover the moral laws of the universe, to be honest and loving and just with all humility and humanity. He warns them not to substitute possessions for God, proclaiming, I'm not going to put my ultimate faith in the little gods that can be destroyed in an atomic age, but the God who has been our help in the ages past, and our hope for years to come, and our shelter in the time of storm, and our eternal home. We need to rediscover our lost values. There's something wrong with our world, something fundamentally and basically wrong. I don't think we have to look too far to see that, and I'm sure that most of you would agree with me in making that assertion. When we stop to analyze the cause of our world's ills, many things come to mind. We begin to wonder if it's due to the fact that we don't know enough, but it can't be that. Because in terms of accumulated knowledge, we know more today in 1954 than men have known in any period of human history. We have the facts at our disposal. We know more about mathematics, about science, and social science, and philosophy than we've ever known in any period of the world's history. So it can't be because we don't know enough. And then we wonder if it's due to the fact that our scientific genius lags behind. That is, if we have not made enough progress scientifically. Well, then it can't be that. For our scientific progress over the past years has been amazing. Man, through his scientific progress, has created scientific genius, has been able to warp distance and place time and change so that today it's possible to eat breakfast in New York City and supper in London. Back in about 1753, it took a letter 3 days to go from New York City to Washington. And today you can go from here to China in less time than that. It can't be because man is stagnant in his scientific progress. Man's scientific genius has been amazing. I think we need to look much deeper than that if we are to find the real cause of man's problems and the real cause of the world's ills today. If we are to really find it, I think we will have to look in the hearts and souls of men. The trouble isn't so much that we don't know enough, but it's as if we aren't good enough. The trouble isn't so much that our scientific genius lags behind, but our moral genius lags behind. The problems facing modern man is that the means by which we structure our lives. We have outdistanced the spiritual ends for which we live. So we find ourselves caught in a messed up world. The problem is with man, himself, and man's soul. We haven't learned how to be just and honest and kind or true and loving, and that is the basics of our problem. The real problem is that through our scientific genius, we've made the world a neighborhood. But throughout our moral and spiritual genius, we failed to make it a brotherhood. And the greatest danger facing us today is not so much the atomic bomb that was created by physical science, not so much that atomic bomb that you put in an airplane and drop on the heads of hundreds and thousands of people, as dangerous as they are. But the real danger confronting civilization today is that atomic bomb which lies in the hearts and souls of men, capable of exploding into the vilest of hate, into the most damaging selfishness. That's the atomic bomb we've got to fear today. The problem is with mankind, within the heart and the souls of men. That is a real basic of our problems. My friends, I'm trying to say to you that if we are to go forward today, we've got to go back and rediscover some mighty precious values that we've left behind. That's the only way we would be able to make it our world a better place and what God wants it to be like and the real purpose and meaning of it. The only way we can do it is to go back and rediscover some precious values that we've left behind. Our situation in the world today reminds me of a very popular situation that took place in the life of Jesus. It was read in the scripture for the morning, found over in the 2nd chapter of Luke's Gospel. The story is very familiar and very popular. We all know it. You remember when Jesus was about 12 years old, there was a custom of the feast. Jesus' parents took him up to Jerusalem. That was an annual occasion, the feast of the Passover, and they went up to Jerusalem and they took Jesus along with them. And they were there a few days, and then after being there a while, they decided to return home to Nazareth. After they started out, and I guess as it was a tradition in those days, the fathers probably traveled in front, and then the mother and the children were behind. You see, they didn't have the modern conveniences that we have today. They didn't have automobiles and subways and buses. They walked and traveled on donkeys and camels, so they traveled very slow. But it was usually the tradition for the fathers to lead the way. They left Jerusalem, returning to Nazareth, and I imagine they walked about a day's journey, and they didn't look back to see if everybody was there. But when the scripture says they went about a day's journey and they stopped to rest and to see if everything was all right, and they discovered that somehow something mighty precious was missing. They discovered that Jesus wasn't with them. Jesus wasn't in the midst. And so they paused and looked, and they didn't see him around. And they went on and started looking among the kinsfolk. And then they went on back to Jerusalem and found him in the temple, which was 3 days of looking with the doctors of the law. Now the real thing that is to be seen here is this, that the parents of Jesus realized that they had left and that they had lost a mighty precious value. They had enough sense to know that before they could go forward to Nazareth, they had to go backward to Jerusalem to recover this value. Nazareth, they had to go backwards. They knew that. They knew, and they couldn't go home to Nazareth until they went back to Jerusalem. Sometimes it's necessary to go backwards in order to go forward. That's an analogy of life, and may it be that modern man has forgotten on the wrong parkway, and if he is to go forward to the city of salvation, he got to go back and get on the right parkway. I inserted this verse in here in Matthew 7:14, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and there be few that find it, because it talks about two ways in Matthew there. It talks about the broad way and the narrow way, and so you get on the wrong parkway and you go to the wrong destination. And so that was a thing that Jesus' parents realized, that they had to go back and find this precious value that they had left behind in order to go forward. They realized that. And so they returned to Jerusalem, and they discovered Jesus in the temple. That we've just gone through with. So now that we have to do in our world today, we've left a lot of precious values behind. We've lost a lot along the way, and if we are to go forward, we have to make this a better world in which to live. We've got to go back. We've got to rediscover these precious values that we left behind. I want to deal with one or two of these precious values that we've left behind, that if we're to go forward and to make this a better world, we must rediscover. The first is this. The first principle of value that we need to rediscover is this, that all reality hangs on moral foundations. In other words, this is a moral universe, and there are moral laws of the universe, just as abiding as the physical laws. I'm not so sure we all believe that. We never doubt that there are physical laws of the universe that we must obey. We never doubt that, and so we just don't jump out of airplanes or jump off of high buildings for the fun of it. We don't do that. Why? Because we unconsciously know that there is a final law of gravitation, and if you obey it, you'll suffer the consequences, and we know that. Even if we don't know it in Newtonian formulation, in the algebra of how it all works, we know it intuitively. And so we just don't jump off the highest building in Nashville for the fun of it. We don't do it. Because there is a law of gravitation which is final in the universe. If we disobey it, we'll suffer the consequences. But I'm not so sure if we know that. There are moral laws just as abiding as the physical laws. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not sure we really believe that there is a law of love in this universe. And if you disobey it, you'll suffer the consequences. I'm not so sure we really believe that. Now, at least two things convince me that we don't believe that, and we have strayed away from the principle that this is a moral universe. The first thing is that we have adopted in this modern world a sort of relativistic ethic. Now, I'm not trying to use a big word here. I'm trying to say something very concrete. And that is that we have accepted the attitude that right and wrong are merely relative to our outlook on life. Most people can't stand up for their convictions because the majority of people might not be doing it. See, everybody's not doing it, so it must be wrong. Since everybody is doing it, it must be right. So a sort of numerical interpretation of what's right or wrong has taken over. But I'm here to say to you this morning that some things are right and some things are wrong. Some truths are absolutely eternal. It's wrong to hate, and it has always been wrong, and it will always be wrong. It's wrong in America, it's wrong in Germany, it's wrong in Russia, it's wrong in China. It was wrong 2,000 years ago, and it's wrong in 1954 AD. It is always wrong, and this is my addition to it, even today in 2025, and it will always be wrong, even today in 2025. then we go back to his sermon. It's wrong to throw our lives away in ridiculous, riotous living. No better if everybody in Nashville, and that's my insertion also, is doing it, it's wrong. It always will be wrong, and it's always been some wrong. It's wrong in every age, and it'll be wrong in every nation. Some things are right, and some things are wrong, and it doesn't matter if everybody is doing the wrong thing. Some things in this universe are absolute. The God of the universe has made it so. And so long as we adopt this relativistic attitude toward right and wrong, we're revolting against the very laws of God himself. Now, that isn't the only thing that convinces me that we've strayed away from this attitude. The other thing is that we've adopted a sort of pragmatic test for right and wrong. Whatever works is right. It's all right. Nothing is wrong but that which does not work. If you don't get caught, it's right. That's the attitude, isn't it? It's all right to disobey the 10 Commandments, but just don't disobey the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not get caught. That's the attitude. That's the prevailing attitude in our culture. No matter what you do, just do it with a bit of finesse. You know, a sort of attitude of the survival of the slickest. Not the Darwinian survival of the fittest, but the survival of the slickest. Who can do whatever can be the slickest is the one who is right. It's all right to lie, but lie with dignity. It's all right to steal and to rob and extort, but do it with a bit of finesse. It's even all right to hate. Just dress up your hate in the garments of love and make it appear that you are loving when you are actually hating. Just get by. That's the thing that's right according to this new ethic. My friends, that attitude is destroying the soul of our culture. It's destroying our nature. The thing that we need in this world today is a group of men and women who will stand up for right and be opposed to wrong, wherever and whatever it is. A group of people who have come to see that some things are wrong, determined they're never caught up with these wrong things, and some things are right, which nobody sees you doing them or not. All I'm saying is our world hinges on a moral foundation. God has made it so. God has made the universe to be based on moral laws. So long as man disobeys it, he is revolting against God. And that's what we need in the world today. People who will stand for right and goodness. It's not enough to know the intricacies of zoology and biology, but we must know the intricacies of law. It's not enough to know that 2 and 2 make 4, but we've got to know something that it's right to be honest and just with our brothers. It's not enough to know all about our philosophy and mathematic disciplines, but we've got to know the simple disciplines of being honest and loving and just with all humanity. If we don't earn it and learn it, we will destroy ourselves by the misuse of our powers. This universe hinges on a moral foundation. There is something in this universe that justifies Carlyle in saying, he was a famous philosopher, no lie can live forever. There is something in this universe that justifies William Cullen Bryant, who was a justice, in saying truth crushed to earth will rise again. There is something in this universe that justifies James Russell Lowell in saying truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. But that scaffold sways the future, which is Christ, behind all the din known as unknown God, within the shadow keeping watch from above. There is something in this universe that justifies the Bible writer in saying, you shall reap what you sow. This is a law-abiding universe. This is a moral universe. It hinges on a moral foundation. If we are to make of this world a better world, we need to go back and rediscover the precious values that we've left behind. And then there is a second thing, a second principle, and we need to go back and rediscover, and that is that all reality is under spiritual control. In other words, we need to go back and discover the principle that there is a God behind the process. Well, you say, why is it that you raise this as a point in your sermon in a church? The mere fact we are in church, we believe in God. We don't need to go back and rediscover that. The mere truth that we are here and the mere fact that we sing and pray and come to church, we believe in God. Well, there is some truth in that. But we must remember that it's possible to affirm the existence of God with your lips and deny his existence with your life. The most dangerous type of atheism is not theoretical atheism, but practical atheism. And that's the most dangerous type. And the world, even the church, is filled with people who pray lip service to God and not to life service. And there is always a danger that we'll make it appear external that we believe in God when internally we don't. We say with our mouth that we believe in Jesus, but we live our lives like he never exists. That is the ever-present danger confronting religion. That's a dangerous type of atheism, and I think, my friends, that is a thing that has happened in America, that we have unconsciously left God behind. Now you see the text, you remember the text that Jesus' parents went on a whole day's journey not knowing that he wasn't with them. They didn't consciously leave him behind, it was unconscious. They went a whole day's journey and didn't even know where Jesus was. It wasn't a conscious process. You see, we don't grow up and say, now, goodbye, God, we're going to leave you now. Materialism in America has been an unconscious thing. Since the rise of the Industrial Revolution in England, and then with all the inventions of all of our gadgets and contrivances, and all of the things in modern convenience, we unconsciously left God behind. We didn't mean to do it. We became so involved in life, increasing our bank accounts, that we unconsciously forgot about God. We didn't mean to do it. We became so involved in our nice, luxurious cars, and they are nice, but we became so involved in it, it became much more convenient to ride out to the beach on Sunday afternoon than to come to church that morning. It was an unconscious thing we didn't mean to do. We become so involved and fascinated by the intricacies of television that we found it a little more convenient to stay at home than to come to church. It was an unconscious thing. We didn't mean to do it. We didn't just go up and say, now, God, you're gone. We had a whole day's journey, and then we came to see that we had unconsciously ushered God out of the universe. A whole day's journey. We didn't mean to do it. We just became so involved in things that we forgot about God. And that is a danger that's confronting us, my friends, that in a nation as ours, where we have stress mass production, and that's mighty important, where we have so many conveniences and luxuries and all of that, there is a danger that we will unconsciously forget about God. I'm not saying that these things aren't important. We need them. We need cars. We need money. All of that's important to life. But whenever they become substitutes for God, they become injurious. And may I say to you today that none of these things can ever be real substitutes for God. Automobiles and subways, televisions and radios, dollars and cents can never be substitutes for God. For long before any of these came into existence, we needed God. And long after they will have passed away, we will still need God. But I say to you this morning in conclusion that I'm not going to put my faith in things. I'm not going to put my ultimate faith in gadgets and contrivances. As a young man with most of my life ahead of me, I decided early to give my life to something eternal and absolute. Not to these little gods that are here today and gone tomorrow, but to God who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Not in the little gods that can be with us in a few moments of prosperity, but in the God who walks with us through the valley of the shadow of death and causes us to fear no evil. That's the God, not in the God that gives us a Cadillac cars and Buick convertibles, as nice as they are, that are in style today and out of style 3 years from now, but the God who threw up the stars to bedeck the heavens, like swinging lanterns of eternity. Not in the God that can throw up a few skyscraping buildings, but the God who threw up the gigantic mountains kissing the sky. It's as if to bathe their peaks in the loftitudes. It's the quality of being high or tall. Not in the God that can give us a few televisions and radios, but the God who threw up that great cosmic light that rises early in the morning in the eastern horizon, who paints his technicolor across the blue, something that man could never make. I'm not going to put my ultimate faith in the little gods that can be destroyed in an atomic age, but the God who has been our help in ages past, and our hope for years to come, and our shelter in the time of storm, and our eternal home. That's the God I'm putting my ultimate faith in. That's the God I call upon you to worship this evening, right? Listen and be assured that this God is going to last forever. Storms come and go. Our great skyscraping buildings will come and go. Our beautiful automobiles will come and go, but God will be here. Plants may wither, the flowers may fade, but the word of God shall stand forever, and nothing can ever stop him. All of the fighter jets in the world can never reach God. All of our atomic bombs can never reach him. The God that I'm talking about this morning is the God of the universe and the God that will last through the ages. If we're going forward this morning, we've got to go back and find God. That is a God that demands our commands and our ultimate allegiance. If we are to go forward, we must go back and recover those precious values. That's all reality hinges on moral foundations, and all reality has spiritual control. And may God bless you this morning. And he closed with the blessing, the Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance unto thee, and be with thee in thy goings out and thy coming in thy labor and in thy leisure. King alluded to a familiar hymn, O God, our help in ages past. We believe in God when eternally we don't. We say with our mouth that we believe in him, but we live with our lives like he never existed. And this is the ever-present danger confronting religion. And that's a dangerous type of atheism. And I think, my friends, that is a thing that has happened in America. We have unconsciously left God behind. Now, we haven't consciously done it. We have unconsciously done it. You see the text. You remember the text that Jesus' parents went a whole day's journey not knowing that he wasn't with them. They didn't consciously leave him. Well, it was unconscious. Went a whole day and didn't know it. It was a conscious process. You see, we didn't grow up and say, now, goodbye, God. We're going to leave you now. Materialism in America has been an unconscious thing. And the service closed with this song. O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, our shelter from the stormy blast and our eternal home. Under the shadow of thy throne thy saints have dwelt secure. Sufficient is thy arm alone, and our defense is sure. Before the hills in order stood, on earth received her frame. From everlasting thou art God, to endless years the same. 1,000 ages in thy sight are like an evening gone, short as a watch that ends the night before the rising sun. Time, like an ever-rolling stream, bears all its sons away. They fly forgotten as a dream dies at the opening day. O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, be thou our guard while troubles last and our eternal home. May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again next Wednesday night. I trust you enjoy what Martin Luther King said, because I agree with him. In 1954, we still have the same problems today in 2025. And we need to, as people of God, we need to tell other people about Jesus so that we can go out and bring more people into our churches, because today more people are not in church as it used to be. I have looked at the Lifeway as they have done their yearly analysis on churches, and for 12 years the churches have lost members across our nation. And so tonight I appreciate being with you. I appreciate being able to share this message with you. And may the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again, till next Wednesday night. And I'm sorry about the sound. I thought I had everything working with it, but eventually we got it done. So thank you for your patience. And continue to pray for me. I still got therapy this week.